It's your boy Alphamediaroom, back with another one. Yo, we got Joe Budden interviewing Candace Owens. We're not really gonna play the whole entire thing. We're just gonna play like little clips here and there that we scoured through the internet and picked up, and we're just really trying to get a good grasp of the internet and what Candace Owens is possibly trying to relay, because a lot of people really don't like Candace Owens. So let's go straight into it.
Uh, the hoes and the rise of the whole movement, which I've been a beneficiary of. So I don't want to clown it too much, but please tell me about your views on the hoes, not home records, just the hoes.
I'm so glad you asked me this question because I am a hoologist. I've done academic research
That's
into
my
the
favorite
matter.
part of you, the
Yes, the
hoologist.
hoologist. I genuinely am fascinated.
Me too.
The mind of a hoe is fascinating.
Me too.
Like, it's just, I can't look away. I remember when I went on the Whatever podcast and I was sitting with 3 hoes and I was just beside myself,
Wait, you did a podcast with hoes?
Yeah. Could you imagine? So
No.
there's this podcast called the Whatever podcast, and it's just a guy and he just will pick 3 hoes and they're like, what do you do for a living? And I'm a prostitute. And then they go to the next girl.
How'd you get there?
I'm an OnlyFans model. This is the whole point of the show. And he just throws in like one conservative in the mix. And
Oh, God.
at first, when a person wanted me to go on the show, I was like, I don't want to sit in a room and listen to hoes for 3 hours.
Oh, that's the best.
I am.
Yo, Joe, the way Joe is interpreting it and Candace Owens is interpreting it is 2 different ways. Candace Owens is saying it from more of like a I want to say philosophical way, maybe, but Joe is just like, Joe loved the hoes. Joe quote unquote hoes are, great people to talk to, and that's who Joe loves to talk to, right? Because Joe be at strip club and stuff like that, and I feel like the hoes are realists, right? Like, so the way he said that was pretty funny, but no, in all reality, this is a serious conversation.
So glad I went because it was the closest. I was like Steve Irwin. So let me get a little bit closer. Like, I
Rest in peace.
I was not worthy. Like, I couldn't believe it. Anyways, I'm fascinated by hosts. I am fascinated by just how quickly we have arrived at this stage, which is a whole apocalypse. It's a whole apocalypse now. Like, it is everybody.
Whole apocalypse. Yo, the whole flips, the word flips they using is wild. Like, like just off the gate, we're talking about hoes.
You don't think there's always been?
No, not in this way. No. People are competing to be the biggest hoe. Something tripped over. I actually, with my academic research, I tried to look at the moment where things got really crazy. It was around 2015. Like, something. I'm not saying a hoes didn't exist before, but
I'm not gonna hold you. That is very, very true. It was around a certain time because growing up, I'm 24, so every year is basically the year that I am. So if it's 2024, I'm 24, right? So basically, in 20, like I would say, growing up, seeing any girl like just like behind, basically, right? I'm trying to just make it as PG as possible. It's like already got hoes out there, but either way, we're trying to make it PG as possible. It was very hard to seeing a girl right now, being grown. It's like, bro, you see like the quote unquote hoes everywhere, like everywhere. It used to be so hard to find that when you do see the little bit of quote unquote wholeness, you like, oh, it feel good to look at it. Like, oh, like, I don't know. That was maybe from a child. Like, I was a teenager, preteen. So like, that was the type of energy I was on at the time, right? Obviously, puberty and all that stuff. So, but now as an adult, I clearly see that, wow, like the reason why I'm really messed up is because I can just imagine being the preteen age right now. There's no way I would be able to survive in this era. Like, if I'm just keeping it a bean, this is the unhealthy mind version of myself. Just not unhealthy, but I'm just saying, like, when you're growing up to adolescence, not knowing any better, or just falling into just human stuff and human things, and now the access and the ease is so much, and it's like, yes, hoes are trying to out hoe other hoes. And when you got the biggest female rappers in the world being quote unquote hoes, it just makes the average quote unquote girl or whoever watches them and idolize them want to be like them, and they want to be the hoe, right? So let's keep it going.
I mean, something switched up where it was like, not only like, because before, if you're a hoe, you weren't like proud. Like the pride that they have in being a part of the hodom is fascinating to me, right?
That's very true. And I'm sorry, you guys, I'm going to pause it because, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to play the whole entire Joe Budden Patreon episode because I want you guys to go check it out because that's Joe Budden's content. But I just honestly want to break down certain parts. And this is one of the parts that, created some buzz. And to me, it's very true. It used to be looked down upon. Like when someone called you that, that's almost fighting words. That's like calling a man a B word. It's like you're already gonna get yourself into trouble, and people's never really gonna like take and glorify being a B if you're a man, right? But being a girl, like being called the hoe, is like that was the last thing any girl wanted to ever hear. Now you call a girl a hoe and she sticks her tongue out and then she's like, ooh, like I'm just saying the average one. I'm not talking about all because to put everybody in a box is horrible. Like I hate when people do that. They be like, oh, all women, like, oh, just women in general. No, you can't classify them as a generalization. You can't put them in a general, like, you know what I'm saying? This is a specific amount, but the amount is growing. But it doesn't mean it's all women, right? So the specific amount of women that do that, you know what I'm saying, it has gotten out of hand to where they're cocky and confident with their hoism. And you know what? It's become so much of a thing that it's now become the quote unquote norm.
Right? Something changed
I
where
theorized
if
this
you,
too.
yeah, if you were a prostitute back in the day, it was something that brought you shame and you were maybe doing this to make ends meet. Now it's like, no, they are proud of being prostitutes. They're proud of going out to the highest bidder. And so I'm fascinated by it. And something happened in 2015. Amber Walk's Slut March was a moment, I would say. It was a moment
Okay.
when
I think Amber Rose really pushed the envelope of like 100% like trying to push that envelope of the quote unquote hoism. We know that she was the muse for Dark Twisted Fantasy or My Dark Twisted Fantasy, right, with Kanye West. And she's asking for her reparations of 20 millions, of course, right? Because she feels like, her hoism influenced and became a muse to Kanye West. So, of course, she brings up Amber Rose because Amber Rose was to me one of the ones that was like, it was Amber Rose and Kim Kardashian's the one that I kind of remember being like, talked down upon for being quote unquote the hoe, but now they're like the whole pioneers and all the hoes look up to them as queen hoe.
the hoes were like, not only we're marching and we're proud to be hoes and we're topless and we're here to stay. And I was amazed by this hurricane of hoes that landed very, very suddenly in Los Angeles. And I think that was a moment. And then there was also this weird thing where like Kim Kardashian and Emily Ratajkowski like teamed up on Chloe Grace Moretz. She was at the time like a 19-year-old teenager, and she was, Kim did her like weird host up where she's like, LOL, nothing to wear, and she was like fully naked on Twitter. And this teenage girl who's like a very like, I'm not as well known as Kim Kardashian, but she was like, don't you think that you should tell girls that we can be more? And Kim went at her, and then all the hoes jumped on Kim's side, and they just dunked on this teenager. Like they were in their 30s. Amber Rose jumps in, like the hoes. It was a hoe hive, right? Going after
A whole hive. She really breaking down all of the bars for hoes.
a teenager, and they were like, no, we're here now. Like we are spiking the ball on people that have morals, right? And I'm fascinated by it.
Do you
And
not think hoes have morals?
obviously, if you are selling yourself to the highest bidder, you are not morally aspirational, right? Your moral is money, right? Your moral is money. That is a main component of being a hoe, is that
Now some hoes might say, and not in defense of the hoes, but some hoes might say that their morals is just not the same as someone like Candace Owens. They could have morals, like let's say they won't get beaten while tricking, I guess, or being a hoe. Um, but they'll do sexual activities. Maybe that's their moral. See, too, that's the only thing I'm just gonna, because I'm not defending the hoes, but I'm just saying this is how I look at stuff. Like I can't, I can't put a box on someone else's morals because like we're all different. You know what I'm saying? Humans are humans. So I believe there's a basic level of morals that passes like let's say, beating, like things that has to take with violence and creepy stuff, the weird energy, like all of the words that I don't want to use for trigger purposes, right? Like obviously those are like just the breaking grounds, but like when it comes to content that involves sexuality or sexual, it's been bended so much that uh it's hard to even say that morals is like that we all can have a moral compass. Like a moral compass can't even be talked about. It's crazy, but at this point, it's like no, it's not even no point in even saying that someone doesn't have morals for being sexually explicit, because like the bar went down, so the minimum is really low. That's all I'm saying. Like I'm trying to say this in the most PG way possible. That's why I'm proceeding with caution. But let's keep it
You
going.
do it because there's a revenue, and so you're willing to do that. I mean, I've done a lot of research. And I sat down with a prostitute on my show and working through her mentality. I was asking her, "What about your son?" And she could see she didn't want to talk about it. I was like, "How do you think it feels for him when his friends can book his mom?" Right? Just like want to walk through that. And yeah, it's about, I
What did she
think
say?
she was like, his friends, he doesn't care. I was like, nobody listening believes you right now. Nobody believes that your son, and we already know how teenage boys are and what he's going to go through, because you're not just being a hoe, you're a proud hoe. You want people to know your name, right? To know that you offer services, and these are the services, how much you have to pay.
Right. That's just a little clip from it because I don't want to play the whole entire thing. Shout out Joe Budden for this. Some people might say it's not. I don't know what popular opinion is, but just based off of some of the feedback I've gotten, it's been perplexed. It's been mixed. But I know a lot more people are kind of more understanding of Candace Owens now, basically off of this interview. But a lot of people didn't feel like Joe Budden bite back and stuff like that. But I feel like Joe Budden already cleared a lot of this stuff up in his Spaces interview, or not Spaces interview, but his Spaces to where Twitter Spaces to where he addressed a lot of the stuff with his fans, which you can check on the channel. Um, but let's go ahead and try to go into this next little clip I have here. I just want to see if there's something more we can add on top of that.
Why didn't they want you to read when we were slaves? What was the reason for that? Why was that such an important slave code? Why was it so important that even if you were a white person and you were caught teaching a black person how to learn to read, you would be punished? Because an educated mind can't be enslaved. Okay, you know the nonsense, you understand the economics. Suddenly, it's not landing the same. The propaganda is not landing the same. If you vote for Trump, it's going to be just like slavery. I don't give a shit about that kind of rhetoric because I know the truth, and I very much.
And that's very true to me. I hate when people just throw around the word slavery so much. Slavery was the most dominant worst thing like in history. Like it's just one of the most, like it just dominated, like to where generations after it's still being affected even if everybody's trying to wash it away psychologically as a community. There's still hauntings. There's still the production, like like slavery wasn't just the moment, it was for generations. It was for the great grandkids of the slaves, right, that the masters, quote unquote masters, wanted to destroy as well. And even after abolishing it, they created new loopholes to try to mentally have them enslaved or put them in prison through like tricks to get them to the music industry, to put them more minorities into prison. That's why the Jewish people went into buying the prisons and the record labels. So they might own the record labels, but they also own private prisons. So the labels will sign a bad artist who just talks about negativity and gun violence in the specific states, like very like Chicago, Louisiana, New York, Philly, Los Angeles, Florida, specific areas to where if you get a rapper to blow up and they're speaking about guns and violence, that the people that is of that area, predominantly, obviously, of minority or color, or obviously some whites will obviously listen and probably join in because they always have to fit in, but the crime rate will go up, and then sending those young men to prison therefore inflates the private prison stocks, which therefore it's a giant circle, and that's what they're doing behind the scenes of all of this stuff. So when they're talking about, when Candace Owens is talking about, when you read and you understand, they can't. When you not just read, when well, reading, yes, but when you also understand, because a lot of people don't read and understand and comprehend. When you could do these things, now you can't be manipulated as easily. So you can't be distracted and information be fed to you that is just completely wrong, because you're gonna 9 times out of 10 do your research as someone who is naturally of a higher consciousness. You're always going to do research on what somebody says, because you're not just going to take everything blatant and be brainwashed like majority of the people that's out here who just live day by day and don't really focus on a higher consciousness and trying to get a higher consciousness so that the programming doesn't affect you as much or if not at all.
Much understood that I was not going to get back on a plantation if I voted for Donald Trump, who, by the way, rappers were chill with before he decided to run for president. Don't even get me started on that quick flip up, which shows you how much the media controls your thoughts.
Not just rappers, entertainers, presidents, I believe, like executives. Everybody was Trump was the man. He was on every black TV show. Like when I was growing up, I was watching a lot of Martin, you know, Family Matters, all just Living Color. In Living Color, I was just trying to catch up on all of that stuff. Really, to be honest, and Living Color is probably way too far back, to be honest. Like I watched it, but I'm not gonna. I don't know verbatim like I do Martin. You know what I'm saying? Because I really love Martin. But either way, Donald Trump has always showed up somewhere in some way in one of those shows or something like that. Maybe not Martin, of course not Martin, but he showed up in different shows in general. And I'm talking about I'm talking about black TV shows in general. He showed up a lot for black people in terms of just being there and being seen. All of a sudden, once he runs for presidency and once he wins or is about to win, so much negative news come out. And you guys notice how Biden took a picture with Glorilla recently. If you guys pay attention to just what's going on right now in the world, he took a picture with Glorilla, and I tweeted something like, "Glorilla, do you not know that they're using you?" Like, just to put it in layman's terms, a lot of people responded. Got a lot of reactions and impressions, uh, but people didn't really understand. A lot of people understood, but maybe like 1%, maybe 2% didn't understand because they're like, "How when she didn't say anything?" No, just them taking a picture with you is a mental programming of you accepting him as the next president. And that's what they'll do. They'll use you as the vote because this is the same white man that told y'all if y'all don't vote for him, you're not black. He goes and uses the churches to, push his vaccines and push for people to, uh, elect him as presidency. So Biden has done a tactic to where he just thinks right before election he could just do stuff that has to do with him being next to black people. It don't even matter if they're talking or anything. It's just him there. And his labels, or well, not his labels, but you know his chaperones basically, because to me ain't no way he thinks for himself. His group, the people around him, this is what they tell him to do. This is their tactics, the Democratic tactics. And I'm not really in all politics, but the Democratic Party has been seen to be the most evil, as I've been growing up really realizing, okay, every time these people are in office, a lot of stuff, bad stuff happens. Um, and I just find that very interesting that a lot of people don't pay attention to that. They'll pay attention to little stuff that don't matter, like, um, if you vote for Donald Trump, you're just voting for someone who's a piece of crap. Well, Joe Biden is also a piece of crap. The party that he's in is a piece of crap as well. Both parties, all of it is pieces of crap. But I'm gonna go with the person that is less of a piece of a crap. How about that?
Right? Don't act like people weren't rapping about Trump as if he was this like icon status of wealth and Jay-Z and
Right, he was the icon status of wealth, like how some people might say, William Buffett, or I think that's his name, Warren Buffett. I meant, like when you rap about money, the word Trump just comes out your mouth. Like before 2014, 2015, before the quote unquote whole era, right? From Candace Owens' point of view, but that has been a very real thing. I'm gonna keep the interview going.
Beyonce sipping poolside at Mar-a-Lago. That was like a thing. It was like a symbol of status. He was having parties. He was with Diddy. All of a sudden, he went president. And it was like, oh, Black America, never mind. He's actually a racist. Forget all the times that you saw him on TV for the last 30 years. And we were fine with it. And he was sitting down with Oprah and everybody and all of your friends. Just ignore all that.
We didn't feel like he was a racist back then.
That's my point. So why did you suddenly, do you think he became racist at 75?
No, I think he started talking more.
No. He started being interpreted more. Which is what they
Right. That's actually very true. He started being interpreted more, not just talking, because he's always been talking. But what happened now? He's talking from a different perspective. He's talking more of a presidential perspective. So it's like, and he also has the New York fervor to him. So President Trump talks the talk. Like To me, that's why I'm like, yo, every New Yorker should love Trump. I mean, yo, like he has the fervor. What you want from America is confidence, right? No matter what, as evil as this country is, we kind of always want to be looked at, or we kind of act, or we are perceived as confident. How can we have a sleepy president who can barely speak be the leader of this entire country? That doesn't make any sense. Um, we might not always agree with everything somebody might say. Like, just because we vote for Trump, or a lot of us, well, I know, well, let's say a lot of us is voting for Trump, doesn't mean we agree with everything he says. Doesn't mean we agree with the people, because there's a lot of racists who believe in what he says, but doesn't mean we agree with the racists. We just agree that this is the best possible outcome based off of the choices that is handed to us. And they're not going to give us no other choices. So it's either you choose the blue pill or the red pill. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to choose the red pill. All right, because I'm not going to stay in captivity, right? So let's get into a very touchy subject, because based off of the world, this is a touchy subject, I guess. But I think this whole thing is touchy subject, right? But once you cross the lines of sexuality, it always becomes a touchy subject. So let's hope that everybody understands. It's 2 minutes, and I'm not playing the whole entire interview. Like I said, I'm playing different snippets, and it's not really like stuff that I took out or whatever. I just kind of just went off of the headlines and just kind of went off of those little snippets, really. Because I really want people to really go check out the Patreon episode of it, to really support Joe Budden for getting different voices on his platform. Um, and some people might look at it like, okay, he's not biting back, and I don't think he is trying to have that type of platform, like a Shannon Sharp type of. You know what I'm saying? I think he wants to have just someone to that just be themselves, to just know where this person rhetoric comes from. Who are they? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I get out of most Joe Budden interviews, is I kind of learn a little bit. Like his Nicki Minaj interviews, I really like it because I get to learn Nicki Minaj as a person a lot more than just talking about stuff, right? So having Candace Owens talk about controversial issues, but just letting her free for all, kind of, in a sense, it allows us to kind of look at her in that and look at what she's saying in a more understandable way. How about that? Because I'm trying to make it sound as PG as possible and understandable as possible, because a lot of people don't like Candace Owens based off of her topics or what she talked about with George Floyd. While although I disagree with that, like I said, we shouldn't have to always agree with everything someone says. You can't name me anyone in the world you just agree with 100%. It should be God, the only person that you should agree with 100%, because every human being is not perfect. You know what I'm saying? There's obviously, we're all gonna have different thoughts here and there, but it's about understanding and agree to disagree. You know what I'm saying? So her George Floyd take was horrible, but it's true in the sense that they used his death as a monument to profit. And I know that for a fact. As inhumane as his death was, it was extremely inhumane. And police brutality is a very serious issue. And we really have to stop that in this country of America. But at the end of the day, they took that horrible thing, that moment, and made money off of it. They created the Black Lives Matters movement that was owned by a white man, and that is not funding the community. But that Black Lives Matter movement came from that moment. You see what I'm saying? It really amplified at that moment. That's what I'm saying. And that's the worst part about all of this. And I feel like people don't talk about that part, the aftermath, the fact that they built the statue of the man. That's not necessary. You see what I'm saying? Let's get things done. Let's get actions done. Let's get constitutions changed. Let's get laws changed. Let's get prison reforms. Let's change things. Let's have higher reparations.
We don't even just produce it, we defend it. We're like, that's Black culture. No, it's not. When did you grow up? That's not Black culture that I grew up with. So don't try to make me love filth. It's not going to work for me because I'm educated, right? And an educated mind can't be enslaved.
What is your problem with the LGBTQ community?
Oh, I got a lot of them. How much time you got?
I got some time.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, nobody is learning your 73,000 genders. Just full stop. Okay. You want to jump in here and say you're a unicorn?
That is, the way she's gonna say it. Obviously, she said that in a very Candace Owens way. Some people might say in a very Joe Budden way, but in a very Candace Owens way. But she's right in a certain point, right? There is too many genders that are just being made up every single day. And it is getting to the point where it's honestly the most genders and sexuality, I don't know, put them both together, I guess, is getting out of hand. Okay, it's getting extremely, extremely, extremely out of hand. All right, and I don't think people understand that just because, okay, we're comfortable with everybody being in love, right? We're comfortable with all of you guys doing your stuff, but when you start pushing these agendas and forcing it on children and forcing it into people's faces, that's when you're crossing a barrier and a comfortability line that is unnecessary. Why do you need me to be so invested in that when I'm not interested in that, right? So forcing me to be interested in that is programming. And that's no this obviously, because to me, I don't know how you're gonna take that as this, but that's no diss to the community. I like when people fight for what they believe in, but fight for what you believe in a very morally way. You know what I'm saying? Don't just
unicorn and I have to call you an uni. It doesn't fly with me. Okay. You want to go home and call yourself an uni and ask your friends to call you whatever, and you're a unicorn, butterfly, non-binary, princess, sprinkle. Cool. Awesome. You want to be crazy? Don't ask me to be crazy for you. And then pretend that I'm crazy for saying I don't want to play the crazy game, right? That whole psychological flip is wild. Secondly, what is being missed in all of this is the history of where the concept of being non-binary and the concept of being trans came from. Pedophiles, right?
I don't know that to be
And
true.
people should look this up. And this is why education is important, because what you will wake up with one day and find with a movement that keeps adding all these letters is that pretty much the next thing after you tell children that they can pick their gender and they have the
basically 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, basically, I was talking to my friends and I was saying, yo, the LGBTQ community was created to push pedophilia. And that sounds absolutely insane. At that time, it sounded absolutely insane. But a lot of my friends has been hitting me up for the past couple of years now and was like, yo, you might have been right about that. Because if you see today, who are they showing that? What is that community doing right now? That community is on every single children's program. Is they're trying to put it on every single classroom to where they have their flags all over the place. And the flags is rainbows and colorful stuff, things that really attract a child's eye, in a sense, like a candy, right? Like putting the candy in a person's face. So if you got uh all these different names, non-binary, asexual, pansexual, all of this stuff, what do you think is coming after that, right? Because all of it is right, because it's going to be a touchy subject if I say mental illness, right? But pedophilia, wouldn't you say, is borderline that, right? So now when you say someone is don't know who they are or want to change their whole entire sex, right? And then you want to put that onto like, do you understand what I'm talking about? It's going to sound obviously wild to anyone in that community, but you guys don't realize that you guys are part of an agenda that is bigger than y'all. While y'all might be fighting for that cause of equality and rights and all that stuff, there's a bigger agenda above that that's trying to get the people at the bottom of the evilest people, they're trying to get accepted. Because what people don't know is that they've been doing this in Catholic churches, the Jewish synagogues, and a lot of these other quote unquote religious places where they take children. Just like what Ryan Garcia said in his crazy moment, quote unquote, with the Bohemian Grave and all the stuff that happened to him when he was 2 years old. A lot of the stuff is very, very, very real. And that's why they created the LGBT community, was not just for LGBTQs, it's for the P. All right.
the authority over their own bodies, and they know this and that. We are at pedophilia light right now in society. The psychologist's name, if you're watching this and would like to look it up, the first person to do surgeries on children was Dr. John Money. He was also molesting them and raping them. He was obviously a homosexual man. You can also look up Magnus Hirschfeld. It actually, if you know about the Nazi book burning, they burned down his sex institute. How did he come up with transgenderism? He was throwing all of these freak parties, and they became psychologists so that they could try to justify their perversions in society. Like, now I'm a doctor, I'm gonna tell you it's normal. So him and some of his friends were jumping down to Africa when there were German African owned colonies, and they were taking photos, making, of Africans having sex to justify.
This is very true, because what you guys don't realize is, why is the Europeans so obsessed with Africa? They go and film the Africans dancing with their rituals, and obviously they're gonna have their clothes off or whatever, because they're not looking at it from a European point of view or a pervert point of view, which is what the Europeans want to do. So they go and they film all of these nations and make them do acts and all of this stuff, while they are the people that's indigenous to the land doesn't really know, because they're not really preview to this type of mentality that this European brain has, which is absolutely disgusting. And that's exactly what she's saying in this whole entire thing. They went and they studied to become doctors, to go and do these type of surgeries. Everybody talk about LGBTQ. I'm talking about the doctors who go and do these surgeries on these T's and these other letters. How do y'all sit there and feel comfortable doing these type of surgeries on these type of people? You sitting there doing surgeries on Dwayne Wade's son, and he's 13 and 12 years old. So do you see what I'm saying, y'all? Like, Dwayne Wade was used as a prop to push that P agenda. Let's keep it going.
Their own perversions and being like, actually, homosexuality is normal, and so is being attracted to children. And so all of this is like in the bubble. Nobody knows this. Where we don't even.
Nobody knows this. Nobody knows this. And what she says, watch, mark this down. If you, wherever you hear this, or whenever you hear this, mark this down in history. Remember this forever. That is going to become an actual conversation in the matter of maybe 5 to 10 years. You guys have to understand, it was already a stretch when LGBTQ was first created. We never ever thought that this would even be a thing, right? Nine binary. Growing up, we never even fathomed any of that. So now you got people just naming themselves A, B, C, D, E, F, G's, right? So basically, that's that type of topic, and I feel like that topic is very touchy for a person in that community. But we're not bashing anybody in that community. We're just saying you guys are being used as a prop for a different agenda that's even deeper than the equal rights. They don't even care about the fact that y'all want equal rights. They're just using y'all wanting to be accepted so much against y'all to push the deeper and the most nastiest agenda. All my biggest problem with that community is, why y'all pushing it so hard on children? Why is drag queens being, or drag races and stuff like that, happening in front of children's eyes, or commercials on TV pushing so much same, just it's pushing so much to children. It doesn't make no sense. Like I said previously, how when I was 13, it was very hard to even see a girl half naked, right? So imagine being a preteen at this time, where the access, like I said, is immaculate. And now you have to consciously gauge, oh, there's different genders and sexualities and different stuff. You have to gauge that early, and they're going to push that in your face early before you even know what heterosexual is. That's the brainwashing to me, and people don't even see that part, to be honest. So let's go into the next situation. It's another little clip that I have, and it has to do a little bit, I think, about music. Let's hear what
But
she said.
I just don't like people lying. I'd rather somebody smack me in the face with the truth than make it sound pretty and lie to me. So I guess it's a difference in personality.
You big up all the white people and diss the black people.
What did you say?
You big up the white people and diss the black people.
And this is how I know you're lying, because I'm here because you covered a clip.
Whoa.
Hold up. 90% of my show is me talking about, this is what I mean, white people that are doing insane things all the time, whether it's Ariana Grande, Taylor Swift. I mean, you name the person, and I've talked about them on my show, especially Emily Ratajkowski. I mean, Kim Kardashian.
To me, I hear her talk a lot about white people. I just hear her try to educate black people. Like, she'll talk about why, like, what are you doing right now? Like, why are you being a hoe, basically, or why are you listening to this rapper when all he talks about is death and porn and stuff like that? Like, all she do is kind of like be rational, I would say. But she's exposing the whites. Like, the last part that I just like got over with the LGBTQ agenda, that is not a black thing. That is a European agenda. That's what they're into. They're into children. And that's a hot take. But those Catholic churches, and you ever seen the Jewish people coming out of these tunnels in New York City? Underneath those tunnels are stem cell research type of fetuses.
It doesn't matter. I talk to these people the entire time. But it's only, like I said at the beginning of this, whenever I cover a Black person, it's fed to you. And it has to be negative. It can't even be like when I'm covering them or defending them or talking about this or whatever's going on in the case. Nobody cares if I say, something to support Kiki Palmer. No one cares if I say something in support of Beyonce. It is wall to wall coverage when I say, I just don't need to hear about Ice Spice's farts. I just don't. I don't want to hear about it.
Honestly, after a couple of times of listening to the song, and as time went by, I don't want to hear that, man. That was like WAP, but way worse. Because now this quote unquote fart fetish, because fart fetish is a thing, just like feet fetish and all this other different. I don't even understand how you even get those type of. To me, most of these fetishes come from childhood traumas that just turn into, I guess, pleasures. But I'm really be trying to figure out how do some people get feet fetishes? Like I'm like, what did your somebody step on you? Is like, what I'm saying. So I'm just, but either way, the fart stuff is just disgusting. Like if you really just think about it, if you think about it in a conscious way and not really of a, oh, let's just go have fun way, like like, come on, man.
We used to produce really good music and it's gone down the drain. And I think even that is intentional. I think it's because it's a part of the let's slowly make it modify the education system so that Black people can't read. And at the same time, feed them with a pipeline of garbage. And you will wake up one day and what surrounds you will be garbage, right? Train them to honor their filth, to defend it, which is what happens. Now we're at a place where we don't even just produce it, we defend it. We're like, that's Black culture. No, it's not. When did you grow up? That's not Black.
Right. To say that Black culture is being hoes and ratchet, or not just on the women too, like obviously the men with the guns and the drugs and the this life to where having so many women and baby mamas and just drama, that has never been Black culture. Black culture was Harlem Renaissance. Black culture was burned down, right? Black culture was the jazz community. It was very predominant. The blues, right? Blues, rock, and jazz, like that. Those were our genres, right? Then it kind of went to hip hop, obviously. But when the hip hop came, it was a little more cerebral and there was a little bit more educated, like Eric B and Rakim, and different people from early in that times, and then over like in the early '90s, they kind of got into more gangster rap. And then it got even more gangster and gangster because they wanted to push this, and that was around the time they started building the private prisons, was to start pushing early '90s. Now, boom, late in mid 2000s, that's when it took another boom because the 2000s, it was, I wouldn't say it was gangster, but it was trying to. Lil Wayne was the person that was, to me, pushing it the most at that time, but it wasn't popular. It was popular, but it wasn't. It was because it was just him. It wasn't as many. Like right now, it's so many of them. So now every little young person goes and listens to whoever they listen to, but 9 times out of 10, their artists are going to talk about things that are demoralizing our culture, things that are destroying our culture, but then call that our culture when it's not. It's been a culture that was given to us and that was forced in our face, and then we had to accept it. And now all of a sudden, those people defend those cultures, right? So let's try to get into the next topic. The next topic, I believe, is, anorexia. I believe that's kind of what I'm seeing. Lizzo and all of this stuff. I believe that was something that was very talked about a lot. That was very much talked about a lot. Um, when this interview dropped, was because the way that she said it, obviously. But like it's crazy because I really don't disagree with a lot of stuff Candace Owens say when I hear her speak. Other than obviously the George Floyd take. But I don't. Everything she says is what I believe a good parent would tell you. You know what I'm saying? Even though she's married to a white man, but I do think that she's using that white man to be popular. Because if she was dating, think about it. It's like the NBA players. If the NBA players are dating, um, okay, well, that's hard to say because I guess LeBron is an anomaly, but LeBron is selling his people, and he's doing an interview or a podcast with JJ Redick, which is a white man, and he always destroys any black man like Kyrie Irving and anybody to stay on, and then he sides with China and all this stuff like that. So he's an anomaly, but when we talk about black on black couples, being on top of the world in terms of money, especially in the sports realm, is almost obsolete. A lot of them have to date white women, or are just naturally attracted to white women because they're programmed to. Um, they only I heard because the billionaires feel more comfortable making the white families rich, or because they're going to be with the black athletes a mixed family rich. Um, that's what I heard. I heard that they feel more comfortable giving the max contracts to a white woman when they go and have these conferences with people families. They don't want to see too many blacks, and that's my observation from what I learned. LeBron is an anomaly, but the reason why he's an anomaly is because yes, he has an all black family, but he destroys his entire community. He never stands up for his community. He hasn't gone against any political issue, activism. He hasn't gone against police brutality. He might say something, but he don't do anything. And then he goes right back in line. Israel versus Palestine. He's the first one to post a note supporting everything Israel is doing when Israel is committing complete genocide. If you actually do your knowledge and do research, it's complete genocide. And and the Congolese people are being killed every single day, and they've been getting genocide for decades, and nobody is ever talking about that. And that's what's disgusting. And when you have put people in, when you put blacks in position, the blacks that's in position don't care about the opposition, right? They don't care about the blacks that's in their community. They'll say it to get you to vote, just like a white Biden will use certain things to try to get you to vote to make you think that they're pro black, but they're not. They're using your pro black against you, just like the LGBTQ conversation about the pedophilias. They're using the LGBTQ community to get to that.
Big with being unhealthy. There are
Because
plenty
it literally is the
of
number
those
one
stars.
killer in
Oh,
America.
here you go with your fucking facts
Facts.
again.
Oh,
There
facts.
are big people that are healthy, Candace. Everybody is not
Oh, stop.
petite and beautifully
you don't
shaped.
need to be petites. You don't need to be petites, because the other side of that, and we would never glorify this, is imagine if every day I was tweeting about my anorexia and I was just like skin and bones, and I was like, I didn't eat today. I haven't eaten in 3 days.
That's not healthy.
Look at that. It's the other end of the same spectrum. Being anorexic is not healthy, and being the size of Lizzo is not healthy. That's it. Okay, that's reality. So why do you see just what you did there? Anorexia, definitely not healthy.
That's not healthy.
Because you've already accepted the fat acceptance movement.
No.
Right, because basically what she's saying is there's one extreme and another extreme. There is no, the fair ground, the middle ground, and not even the middle, like a little bit past the middle and a little bit under the middle. It's none of that. It's just anorexic or completely morbidly obese. There is no middle ground, and people don't understand that. People will never accept that for some reason. And that's what she's saying, but for some reason it's like, I don't know, I guess it's hard to interpret.
Because I've seen people go through that and it wasn't healthy.
What?
But I've also seen people that we would deem to be large in size be perfectly healthy. And I'm not a doctor.
Well,
so
I'm not a doctor, but I do know the statistics. And the statistics are that the number one killer in America is fat. Fat is the number one killer in America. Fat, which leads to heart disease. Okay. So again, I don't have an issue with you being fat. I'm not going to walk up to you and be like, you're fat. Although I did do that once when I was 5 years old. My parents told me, because 5-year-olds just say stuff out loud. Yeah, you gotta watch them. But don't glamorize it. Stop Lizzo on your Instagram, okay? And especially when you do it, and then you have all these people lying to you in your comments. You look beautiful. You're so brave. You're so stunning. You're amazing. That's not healthy for her. That's not healthy for you to lie. It's not healthy for her to hear a lie. If you actually are a Lizzo fan, you should want her to get healthy. Doesn't mean she has to be a size 2 or size 0. Right? You just want to know that you're going to live longer, because she's cutting off her own life expectancy and encouraging other women to do it as well, like as if it's aspirational.
Have the freedom to do so.
I personally would like people to, and this is a part of my whole shtick, to stop putting so much of their body parts available for me. I don't like the games that people play where they do something that's so obviously outrageous, like Lizzo in a thong shaking her ass cheeks. Yeah, up a Laker game shaking her ass cheeks. You know what that was?
It's a lot going on.
It was a
good game. Sunny day.
Not gonna lie, that was absolutely disgusting, and not because she's overweight. It's just in public indecency. A sports game, especially a Lakers game, where there's a bunch of children around. Like I said, when I talk about the LGBT community, either way, but there's a lot of children around, and all of a sudden you are out there just naked. And there was a time growing up where you have never seen celebrities dressed like any of this. That's why we're like the people my age might be a little bit, we're programmed for sure, but we might not be as far out as this new generation that's about to come out, because we weren't preview to these type of activities on the norm, right? It's like this is getting out of hand. Lizzo to me is like her whole audience, even when they came out to the whole lawsuits and stuff like that, her being a very horrible human being. So not only is she promoting this like morbidly obese image, she's also downing all of her dancers who are obese and stuff like that, and they're thinking that she's supposed to uplift them because she's supposed to be standing up for them as whatever, right? The confidence, or just not about body shaming or whatever, but we're just talking about just trying to be as healthy as possible, and you don't have to be skinny, but we're talking about trying to be the best version of yourself, even if you're a bigger person. There's nothing wrong with that, but just knowing that, oh, at least you're grinding and you're working out, because you know that the human body is the human body and is not made to be so massive, right? You can be big boned, you can be just a solid big, but when we're talking about morbid, right? Morbid shouldn't be something that we should glorify, and anorexia shouldn't be something that we should glorify. We should glorify the fair middle ground, but like I said, middle to the right a little bit and middle to the left a little bit, but just not too far.
Hot
See,
damn
everybody
thing.
hates me, and I'm just like, this is A, disgusting, B, perverted.
'Cause I think
People
people
take
look-
their kids to the games. It's like, is there no
Exactly.
safe that's like space that's sacred? You got little boys like fans of LeBron James that want to sit there, and now they got Lizzo with her ass cheeks like shaking, and then she's like, if you don't like it, it's your problem. It's like, no, you are being problematic, and now you're playing the game where you do something outrageous, and then when we outrage, you pretend that we're the crazy ones. I'm not dealing. You stop gaslighting me, okay? You're very large.
That is gaslighting. Very true. She's an educated person. I mean, it's like I think she's if you look at her in a certain spectrum, I think she says everything that we need to hear. Like as a community, especially as a black woman, I enjoy the fact that there is someone that can think like this. You know what I'm saying? But she's hated on, and somehow we always hate the ones that kind of makes more sense than the ones that y'all love. Do she make more sense than Sexy Red Ice Spice? Like, do she make more sense than Lotto or what? She make more sense than them to me, but that's who y'all will put above her.
And you got your ass cheeks out on the side of the court at a basketball game. I'm allowed to now comment on that. I reserve the right to now comment on that, and I do. And then they pull it out like, yeah, just coming after Lizzo. No, Lizzo came after me with her.
Right, she came. The way she talk is it's very interesting. Joe Budden does an interview with her because the way she talks is like, I want to say it's like Joe Budden, but it's like Joe Budden if he was a different type of Joe Budden, like if he was a girl number one, but if he was thinking a different type of way, like the way, cause I'm not gonna say Joe Budden, it's just the way that she says it unfiltered. That's why when I say Joe Budden, I just say unfiltered because I kind of think of him as an unfiltered person who's not gonna bite his tongue, or cupcake around the conversation. Like when he called out Drake, and he was right about that Drake situation because Drake is dating a 21-year-old, or allegedly been with a 21-year-old, and he's 37. And that's absolutely disgusting because a couple of years ago, that little girl was 17, 16, and Drake was still in his 30s. So keep that in mind, that grooming is real. And a lot of these celebrities like them very, very young, because what is the community trying to push? What Candace Owens says in the couple of videos before. But these are basically all of the clips I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed basically what I put together. Let me know in the comments below what you guys actually think. I know I got a lot of Joe Budden fans that really are out there, that really probably on my page too, because the type of content I drop is very Joe Budden verse centric. Because I really do rock with the man. You know what I'm saying? I really do feel like he's an entrepreneur and a pioneer of something that is very deep and profound. And I feel like more black men should try to, reach for entrepreneur type of um realm, own our own things, or be the face of our own things, or just be a creator, grow your fan base and grind and grind and grind. And that's kind of what I've been seeing over the years, from when he was in a small little basement, to now in a giant, well, to me it looks like a giant building, but it's probably just a regular home or whatever. But it's just you see the growth of someone. And These are the type of stuff we have to use as motivation factors, and we can't allow we can't allow people to water down the greatness that we have in our community by uplifting the people who are the worst for our community. You know what I'm saying? So that's why this interview was dope. And let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Subscribe, like, do all of the things that might help me out, you know what I'm saying? But really let me know what you think, because I feel like having a conversation about these type of topics or about this type of interview, let me know about the topics that I didn't see or I didn't cover. Let me know about that as well. Let's try to have an educated conversation in the comments below. Let's try to really understand each other. Like, let's not, bash each other, stuff like that, off of political views and all this stuff. Let's really understand each other and try to, like, agree to disagree if we have to. But, this is a conversation that should matter because we're just trying to be better. As a community, we're trying to better our community, and we're trying to have better faces for our community. And we're trying to be smarter. Like, there's a lot of us that's actually smart, man. We all not crazy and dumb and ratchet and ghetto, but that's the people that they want to promote. So that's why we have to have these type of conversations, and that's why I'm doing this type of video. And I know a lot of y'all gonna see this because I'm your boy, Alphamediaroom. You know what I'm saying? We the ones. You know what I'm saying? We next up, and we already up. You know what I'm saying? So drop that like, comment, share, and subscribe.